I wanted to move on to a little bit more like specifics. Another conversation we were talking about was like game versus practice time. I know this kind of gets into like the ice time topic that you like to talk about, so I kind of want to let you go on a rip about that a little bit. But one of the conversations we were having was how many games are good to play during the year. So we had one of the guys we were talking who said they've played like 70 something games at U15. Another guy said that we play 55, 60. Um, and then I look at, if you look at the college model, they play like 30 or something, right?
Yep.
So, and then you look at CHL and they're playing 68 or 70 or whatever.
68 plus playoffs and preseason. So
right. So
closer to 80.
So where does your mindset kind of line up on the actual in-game play? And then we'll kind of balance that with versus, practice time, skill development time, whatever. And then you can talk about.
So we're talking youth hockey. I think if you can get a couple games a week for, the season, perfect. Couple games a week. Well, I mean, of course, all the kids want to play every day for sure. But I think there's something about that hunger again to play. I think there's got to be a desire to really look forward to Friday night and Sunday afternoon hockey game, or Friday, Saturday hockey game, and sprinkle in some tournaments and stuff. That's important. But I think it's like very, very important to really look forward to playing. And like anything, if you do something every day, that becomes monotonous, or you take it for granted.
It's just so that would be like 55, 60 games a season just for people. If you played like 2 games a week, that's about what that would end up being.
And the reason I say that with kids is like you can sit there and try to make the perfect development model, right? Everybody tries, and the ratio should be 3-1 or 2-1 or whatever, and it should be this much this much this, and it's like that's fine, but you got to take in consideration. Let's say that 2 is too many. Okay, for a youth hockey players, should only have one. I'm throwing it out. I don't mean this, but if it's you play one game a week because development is more important, it's like, okay, but what are we doing when we signed up for hockey as kids? Did we sign up to develop as a hockey player or to play hockey? And I think a lot of times when we're doing things with our youth is we look at things like everyone is going to be a star, or everybody is so serious about getting to the next levels, and some will, some won't be focused on that. But I think when people sign up for hockey, I think they forget that kids want to play hockey. So like even going back, like when we talk about development models, I told you I told you this before, I'm sure. I was watching some practices over time, or parents talking about their practices, and like the real young kids, they do power skating and stick handling. I'm talking really young. My brother-in-law had his kid doing that. And he goes, he's so bored.
Yeah, like how old are we talking?
Well, I'm talking like starting hockey.
Yeah, like 5, 6,
Yeah,
7.
5, 6, 7. Like in hockey Canada, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I like small area games, and they mandate you can't play a full ice game until they're whatever age. Whatever the thing is, they're playing a game. But my thing is that kids didn't sign up. Like you think a 6-year-old watches. I remember Charlie was like that as a kid. He goes, "When do we play?" They want to play hockey. They don't want to develop hockey. Do you know what I mean? And there's a point where you have to do some practice and some skill stuff with kids for sure. But when you sign up as a little kid, ask a kid, what's hockey? What do you want to do in hockey? I want to play games. That's why at the end of a practice, if you give them 5 minutes of a scrimmage, you've saved the day. You could bag them for 45 minutes, give them 5 minutes of scrimmage, and it was a great practice, right? So I think it gets lost that playing games is important. So going back to the youth hockey thing, 2 to me is like the perfect ratio. 2 games and maybe 2 practices. That's fine. You get 2-3 practices a week. That's a lot of hockey, right? But it's important that you have the games in there for kids. And I wouldn't overthink that too much. But then too much is too much. Now you're just getting. You should learn how to practice and.
Yeah. Well, just going to the planning part of it too, like just especially because we're involved with some of that stuff now, and like I always find myself the person in the conversation that's saying like, okay, like let's pump the brakes a little on all the planning. Like this looks like a program for a junior team or 19, 20-year-olds or a pro, which that looks good on paper. But even like I got the young kids that are learning like foundations of lifting in the gym. It's like after 30 minutes of that, they want to wrestle. Like they want to play a game. And so we do that because you want it to be fun, like, and they still get to develop their athleticism through fun means. But when you try to over structure and over complicate and make it like they're playing for North Dakota, it's like they can't handle it, man. It's too much and they don't like it. That's the other thing. It's like they actually don't like it, you know? So when you're talking like practices, games, whatever, I think honestly, I think games you could have an endless amount. It just is more like a logistics thing where like it's expensive and time consuming and whatever. But then when it comes to your practice times and your skill sessions and all this stuff, the younger you go, the more difficult it is to maintain structured like practice and skill development time because they check out, man.
Yep.
They check out. You
well,
can
with
be
the academy,
totally.
said they ask every day, can we play a game today?
Yeah.
Every day, because they're 13U.
Yeah, right.
Every day.
Which of course that's what they want to do,
Yep.
right? So it's like, okay, we'll do 20 minutes, 30 minutes of whatever, and then we'll play games after and try to like, yeah, teach them stuff, whatever, while they're doing it. But they have to just let them play. That's where the development will happen in terms of their actual gameplay type stuff, you know? But you can really get caught up on the details of, you know, how much ice, how many games, how many practices, all this. And I said this before, it's almost like it's majoring in the minors a little bit because the more important details are like who is teaching them, like what is being taught, how is it being taught, where like the focus being on the amount of time seems to take precedent over the quality a lot of times, you know. And so for me it's always that quality over quantity thing. Like if we have a great coach that's with the kids twice a week, that's way better than 5 times a week of crap, you know. So again, it's just a message more for coaches, parents, people involved in making the plans.
Yeah,
right?
For me too. Like if I was to say practices, I wouldn't do hour and a half practices or hour 20s. Like if I had a choice, but understanding that youth hockey, you got to get your kids there. It's really a 50-minute practice if it's an hour for, you know, when you take the flood in consideration. But a well-run practice in 50 minutes is like perfect. Once you get past that hour, like once you get to the 110, 115, typically, unless you're very good at running practices or you can learn how to incorporate skills and stuff like that. Like I find there's a point of diminishing returns. And that's where I think maybe you just have some fun. But I mean, you can't sell that to parents and to people because you got to get them there. It's like, you know, 50 minutes goes by like that. So I get it. But, you know, if I had the choice, like, so if it's like the academy that we're working at, if I had a choice, I'd say you get 1 hour, 50 minutes. And what it does is like, you only have 50 minutes or that 1 hour. So in that hour, make sure it's good. Make sure you work hard. And you can get a lot done in that 1 hour, which is, to me, more beneficial than the hour and a half.
Yeah, and you leave them wanting more as opposed
That's
to
for me.
running
That's
it out.
for me.
Yeah.
So I'd rather them like so the academy model is you get there, you go on the ice, then you have your gym or school or whatever it is, but that hour is, you know, used properly.
Yeah.